Alright, what's up? It's been a little while since I talked to you. Well, so, last time things are really uncomfortable. Okay, last time I really talked to you, I was sitting on that wall over there. That was like Tuesday. I talked to you about the hot sauce on Friday. And then Thursday and Wednesday, Wednesday was the robotics thing. Thursday, I do not remember what I did on Thursday, honestly. I said last week that I was gonna do a review on The Greatest Showman with my brother. I was gonna do a movie review with my brother on like Wednesday. That didn't end up happening, obviously because, well, I don't know if I told you, I was at the school till like 5:30 just trying to work on that video, and then for robotics, and then they kept giving me more stuff that they wanted, like the interviews. They actually didn't come up with the idea till like 4 o'clock, and then we had to film them, and then I had to edit them and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm done talking about that video, doesn't matter. Yeah, so I didn't get the robotics video done, and then we actually didn't end up going to the airfield. So those are two things that I thought I was gonna do that didn't end up happening. That wasn't so much of me like breaking a promise for something that I was gonna do. It was more of, I had the intention of doing these things and some stuff came up that prevented me from doing them. Wednesday was the video, so we ended up doing the movie review, and then yesterday was the pole vault competition walk that we did yesterday, Survivors of Suicide Memorial Walk. So we didn't end up being able to go out to the airfield, and then today he did a Spartan race. I was in a bit of a discussion with a friend. We were talking about La La Land because she was finally watching this movie, or finishing it up. I think she'd started watching it. This is one of my favorite movies, I'll have you know. I think it's probably one of my top 3. I don't have like an order for my top 3. It's just I can't pick a favorite movie really. This is one of them. So yeah, I was a bit I wouldn't say like upset, but I don't know, I had a lot to say. Also, I just got back from the gym and I ran, so I'm thirsty. I'll start off by saying I don't love musicals. And the main reason that I don't is because in so many musicals you are always expecting them to just break out into song. Say you watch Into the Woods, whether it's the play, which is a musical, or the movie that Disney made. But I don't like musicals because typically everything is a song, or they just break into song out of nowhere, and they all just kind of feel really forced and ingenuine. And I guess that's kind of like what a musical does, I guess, but I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Like, one example is The Greatest Showman. There's a lot of times they just break into song, and I get that they're performers and everything, but I don't know, sometimes it fit in, sometimes it didn't, sometimes it really felt like they were trying to make it fit in, and it just didn't make sense. I didn't like that movie personally. I'm not gonna get into any of that now. So, but what La La Land did is it was a fantastic musical in that the first song number is, it's Another Day of Sun, which is the one that they do on the highway, and that's a big theatrical performance, but it like acknowledges that it's not a part of this whole, the whole rest of the story. It's totally separate. The main characters aren't in it. There are no characters that you would recognize for the rest of the movie in it. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling's characters are seen on that same highway. It segues into that, but they're not like participant in the dance or anything. So it really doesn't try to make you feel like that's something that makes sense or that actually happened. It's more of a fantasy, and that's another thing that I can talk about is fantasy versus reality in this movie. It's done so well. I could talk about this for like a straight month. I could make a month's worth of videos on just this movie, and I don't think I'm going to do that. Maybe I'll make a couple. Maybe I'll talk about one with some other people. But anyway, what it does in this movie is it uses the same songs, like City of Stars is used I think 3 times actually sung. I believe it's 3, might only be 2, I'm not sure. But it uses them with slight variation depending on where they are in the movie. But by using that same song over and over, it gives it so much more meaning. Like, you feel like it's something that actually matters to their relationship and something that didn't just come up. Like, they don't just have all these crazy songs that came out of nowhere. Like, in their world, they know this song together, and it's like a fond memory that they have, so that's why they keep going back to it. like, it makes sense. It's not, hey, out of nowhere, we just came up with this random song that we're gonna sing, and, like, everyone's just on board and knows what's going on. And Another Day of Sun does that, but that's the fantasy thing. That's again, what I was saying. And then you could talk about in the planetarium scene, where it's kind of big and theatrical, but I think it knows that it is. It does not pretend to be reality, I don't think. At least for me, it seems like it knows that it's this fantastical thing and that real life isn't like this, and this is just what it is maybe in their minds, or what it feels like, instead of what it is in reality. The discussion I was having with the girl who's watching this movie is the casting. She thought that Ryan Reynolds and Emma Stone were not casted well. She thought that Zac Efron would have been better in Ryan Gosling's place because maybe he can sing better, is what her argument was, and that he's more attractive. That's, personal opinion stuff for both. And then she was saying Emma Stone can't sing well, and personally, I don't think either of their singing is bad, and I'm not going to say anything about their actual singing, but I am going to say that wouldn't make sense to me if you had, like, Beyonce singing. It would be such a fantasy thing if you had these amazing singers and out of nowhere they were just singing, and that's kind of like the thing I don't like about musicals, where it's just like, oh, these people just happen to be all amazing singers, and they're all, like, know the choreography and the song out of nowhere, and that's theatrical and stuff like that, but it presents it as reality in a lot of musicals. So in this, they're not amazing singers, they're normal singers, they're like normal singers, and that's not their profession. Their profession is not singing. They're not, that's not what they do. I think that actually enhances their characters because it does not present them in these absurd ways. It kind of shows, like, yeah, they're real people. They sing this well. They sing because they like to sing, not because they're good at singing. They don't actually, like, that singing isn't what they do, it's just like a thing that at this moment they are doing. So I think it presents them more as, like, real people that you can relate to, instead of, like, this amazing celebrity idol person, which it just, like, makes less sense. I don't think this is good. Alright, next, I think I should address one more thing that's kind of theatrical, which the choreography thing that I've said. You might be thinking, oh, but what about A Lovely Night, when they do that dance and they somehow all know the choreography? Well, I think that's kind of a more theatrical bit. For me, I think it's less big and theatrical and, like, fantasy, and, like, presented as fantasy and not as reality. I think it just represents something different. I think it represents a feeling and kind of like a step in relationship, or like some character development, rather than them actually knowing these dances and stuff. Which you can make that argument about other musicals, whatever, I don't know, this is better, I think. All this is my personal opinion. If you don't agree with it, cool, man. You don't have to. I could talk more about that, on how I think this movie as a musical was better than any other musical I've watched, at least because of how they did it. Damien Chazelle, an amazing director. He's so young. What is he, like 23? Or is he like 28? I don't know. Anyway, he's so good. So smart. He made Whiplash in 2014. That's a fantastic movie also. When I actually came out of this movie, I was thinking of it so much in a theatrical way, and how it's presented so theatrically, like when certain songs begin to play, like when Seb is playing the piano in the restaurant that he works in, all the lights dim, and then there's a spotlight that goes up on him. I think that definitely is theatrical and fantastical, and obviously it's not reality, but I don't think that it's presented as reality. I think it's just a way to drive your emotion, and it feels more like in those moments they feel like they're the only ones, and that's why that's all that you see, instead of that's the only thing that they want you to see, so that's the only thing you do see. And yes, they want the focus to be on Ryan Gosling or Emma Stone or whoever it is in those moments, but I think it's because they delve into so much of what they're doing. Like, he's so focused in playing the piano that he's not thinking of anyone else. He's just in this song. He loves it so much. It means a lot to him, so that's all he's thinking of, and everything else around him is just gone, basically, which is why that's the only thing that's illuminated for him, is him and the piano, I love the epilogue. I love the ending. People always talk to me when I tell them to watch this movie, and then if they do, they're like, God, I wish it hadn't ended that way. And I was like, well, what if it ended the way that you theoretically wanted it to? where everything's happy and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a good point. If it did just end, it would not have been as good of an ending if it was all how it made you happy. It's not supposed to make you happy in the end. You're supposed to be upset because it turned out a way that you didn't want it to, and it turned out a way that they didn't want it to, and that's the whole point of the epilogue. There's a there's a La La Land Day in Los Angeles, and that is so cool. I'm thinking now, and there's more like theatrical moments than I was thinking of in the beginning, but basically, I think this is a musical better than other musicals because you're not always expecting a song. Like, it's more movie than song, and I feel like a musical doesn't get a free pass just because it's a musical. It's not a good movie because it's a musical. It has to be a good movie first, and I think La La Land is first a good movie and then also a good musical or also a good soundtrack. Like, Greatest Showman doesn't get to be good because it has good music in it, or whatever movie, Moana, whatever, I don't care. You can talk about any musical with it. It doesn't get a free pass. You have to be a good movie before you can be a good musical. It's like even harder because you have to make this great movie, story and character development, setting and plot and all of that. And then you have to be like, all right, how are we going to put songs in here that actually make sense and actually make it better rather than just being like, it's like a sequel. It needs to be necessary. You shouldn't force it. It should feel natural. And that's why I feel like so many sequels are bad and so many musicals are bad, is because they force it instead of making it something that should happen, like a natural progression, like seeing a fish grow legs. It's not really a thing that you see very often, but you know what I'm talking about. And then I also think I feel kind of nostalgic because this is one of the movies that I think helped me realize that I actually wanted to make movies. I think this most predominantly is the one. It was around the time when I was learning editing and other stuff like that and kind of figuring out that I wanted to do film. I saw this movie and I was like, it like blew my mind. I just loved it so much, and I cried. I think it's a good thing if a movie can make you cry. I think I talked about that too. It's just a really beautiful movie, and I decided basically that I wanted to be able to make a movie like this. Not necessarily like a musical, but I wanted to be able to make a movie that would make you feel emotion like this, or something else. Like, I wanted to make a movie that is my favorite movie. But yeah, so I think I just feel like nostalgic to it and like a connection toward it, which is like, I think one of the reasons why I got more mad at my friend earlier who was talking about how they should have casted differently. I think it just means it's like a really, really good, it's a really good movie. Also, I think I've done like way more movie reviews of recent movies than any older ones. Maybe I'll try to do an older one soon. I'm not old. I mean, I've watched a bunch of older movies. I love Alfred Hitchcock. I've talked about that. That's going to be all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video and today's video, and you've enjoyed however many videos. If you have enjoyed, please subscribe if you want to see more of my face. I do a video every single day. If you have a movie that you want me to review or talk about, leave it in the comment section. I will do it, if I've seen the movie, of course, and if I haven't, I'll try to watch it and then do it. So yeah, if you're enjoying, just keep watching. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I know not many people are watching, but it does mean a lot that anyone would care about something that I make. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!